Hello and welcome to my patch 5.4 Beast Mastery Hunter guide. Now in this guide I'll pretty much try to cover everything. We'll have talents, changes, glyphs, gems, enchants, the rotation, and some macros and add-ons. So first of all, as a bit of an introduction to the guide, I want to talk about the main core changes that affect Beast Mastery Hunters. Now for the sake of completeness I will go through all the changes at the end. First of all, we have Kill Command. Its damage has been increased by 34%. Arcane Shot now does 125% range damage, up from 100%, and costs 50% more focus. A Murder of Crows has 40% increased damage. Link's Rush has 30% increased damage, and we have a new ability called Counter Shot, which is pretty much an interrupt that replaces Silencing Shot for everything bar marksmanship. Also, the 5.3 Stampede nerf has been reversed in PvE, so the damage is no longer reduced by 75%, which is quite a lovely change. So overall, it is a buff, and I can see Hunters, we're not going to be probably the top of the charts, but I think we should be pretty solid. As always, if you play your class perfectly, you're going to do very well. That's just the fact of it. So, let's get on to things. The first thing we're going to cover is talents. Now these are kind of interesting in 5.4. The choices are certainly closer. Now for tier 1, you want to use either Post Haste or Crouching Tiger, Hidden Chimera, that's just based on the fight. For tier 2, there's no DPS ones here, so just use whatever works best for you. Now the counter shots here, there's really, silencing shots not there, so it's not the most useful of tiers. For tier 3, Iron Hawk is probably still the best choice to go, despite the fact it's been nerfed by 5%. And for tier 4, Dire Beast and Thrill are very close in terms of simulated results. Now the simulation pretty much will play sort of quote perfectly. Now this is why I think that Dire Beast, while it does have a simulation edge, it also has a player edge. I'd recommend it over Thrill because Thrill has a tendency of messing up your focus management because it's changing the cost of one of your spells. You might say miss, miss the Thrills came up, use an Arcane Shot and maybe you'd miss your next kill command or something. Pretty much, it just sort of fucks things up, in my opinion. Now, they cost 10 focus instead of 30. The way Thrill works is your next 3 arcane shots will cost 10 focus instead of 30. So, it's nice, but it can mess things up. Dire Beast, however, you just use it every 30 seconds. If you time it right, it'll pop up right before, what's it called, Bestial Wrath, so that you'll have, during Bestial Wrath, you'll have the increased focus regen, and it should be nice. That's why I'd recommend Dire Beast. I know that some people might be saying, oh, the reason you say against Thrill is just a skill thing. I mean, I'm 75 to 90 percentile in terms of parses at this late stage of the expansion, so honestly I do think, very strongly that's the best way to do it. Now for tier 5, despite the Link's Rush buff, a Murder of Crows is probably still going to be the best. That's based on current PTR data, and I very much doubt anything will change now that we're so close to the patch. It's coming out in 3 days. For tier 6, Glaive Toss is still the best talent. Now for glyphs, they are largely unaffected. For the major glyphs, you want Glyph of Animal Bond, which increases your healing taken by 10%. The healers will love you for it. Also, Glyph of Deterrence increases the damage reduction of deterrence by 20% up to 50%. This pretty much means that if deterrence won't, outright mitigate a piece of damage, you'll take half damage. That's really nice for some heavy damage phases of fights. After this, Glyph of Liberation is probably your best bet. It's a 5% heal when you disengage. Honestly, bar those first two, not many of the majors are that useful in PvE. Now for minors, Glyph of Revive Pet removes the pushback effects during the cast of Revive, so if your pet does manage to die, this is kinda handy. None of the other minor glyphs have any bearing on your raid abilities though. Next up we have gems, enchants, and that kind of thing. So gems and enchants are the same as normal. I'll show a screenshot. And as for reforging, just plug your character into Ask Mr. Robot, hit the optimize button, and just follow its recommendations. Really, the same goes for gems and enchants. There's no point in spending 5 minutes showing it here. Now for the meat of the guide, and probably what really relies the most on your own skill and how you can implement this information. It is the rotation. So this is quite different now the readiness is gone, and actually the removal of readiness means that it's a little bit less cluttered. So, as always, you want to pre-pot in a fight. So after pre-potting, you want to use Rapid Fire, Stampede, Bestial Wrath, Kill Command, a Murder of Crows, Serpent Sting, Dire Beast, and Kill Command. That is your opener. Now, depending on your latency and stuff, you should be able to fit an Arcane Shot in between your Dire Beast and that final Kill Command. Believe it or not, this is actually significantly less complicated than it used to be in 5.3, so there's a lot of buttons to hit, but I will have a way to help you with that via the macros, which I'll cover later on. Now, if you do this correctly, you will have performed the opening well and can settle into your regular rotation. Honestly, it's not really a rotation, it's more of a priority-based system, so just use your head and you'll be fine. Kill command should be used on cooldown and must not be delayed. That's very important, you cannot delay it. Now, Arcane Shot is your filler. This pretty much means it's what you burn off your extra focus with. It costs 30 focus, so you must be sure that you never bring yourself under 40 focus. The reason for that is that if you go under 40 focus and then kill command comes off cooldown, you'll be a little bit delayed in kill command, which is not nice for your damage at all, so just make sure you do that. Now, your main focus regen ability is Cobra Shot. Just simply use this when you need focus. You always want to have 40 focus ready for your next kill command, and if something like a Murder of Crows is about to come off cooldown, you should probably try to build up a bank of focus so that you can use it right as it comes off cooldown. Now, that's really pretty much it. Of course, Serpent Sting will always be applied because you'll be refreshing it with Cobra Shot. So really, I think that's all the main abilities covered. Now, the other part is cooldowns. So our biggest cooldown is Stampede. It's a 5-minute cooldown. You can use it 1 to 2 times depending on the length of the fight. Usually just use it with the pull, and the reason for this is because it benefits with the haste that Rapid Fire gives. Now, Rapid Fire is the next cooldown we're going to cover. It has a 3-minute cooldown, which means that it's best combined with every third Bestial Wrath. This should be done for maximum effect because you'll have the damage increase from Bestial Wrath, and then you'll have the haste increase from Rapid Fire. They stack up in a very lovely fashion. Also, whenever your Rapid Fire and Bestial Wrath kind of stack up, that's when you want to use your potion. Usually, unless, like, it makes sense to do it in the execute range. Now, Bestial Wrath is the next one I'm going to talk about. It is a 1-minute cooldown, and it's very good. Now, it's a 1-minute cooldown, and Dire Beast is a 30-second cooldown. Now, this means that you want to be using Dire Beast every 30 seconds, just so that you can use it just before Bestial Wrath comes up. That means that you'll have the increased focus regeneration from Dire Beast during your Bestial Wrath, which is very good. And then, of course, if you... this is very important as well. Also, you should time your Bestial Wrath so that you can use 2 kill commands during it. Since kill command is a 6-second cooldown and Bestial Wrath has a 10-second duration, you should really use it in the first few seconds of Bestial Wrath to ensure you can fit a second one at the end. Now, kill command does a big wad of damage, and if that damage can be further increased by the bonuses from Bestial Wrath, you absolutely should do it. Next up, we have Focus Fire. Now, your pet will gain stacks of a thing called Frenzy, and once it hits 5, you should use Focus Fire to burn off those stacks and give you a haste-like buff. So it shouldn't be used during Bestial Wrath because you don't want to waste a global cooldown. Also, it's not 100% effective when stacked with Focus Fire. Sorry, not when stacked with Focus Fire, when stacked with Rapid Fire, as it may push you under the global cooldown and you won't be getting any additional benefit. Finally, Rabid is a pet ability that should be used on cooldown, and it's nice to stack it up with Bestial Wrath when possible. Now, I know this is a lot to take in, and I've played a Hunter for years, and it's all second nature to me at this stage, but pretty much just in general, when the buttons light up, hit them. If buttons that come off cooldown, if you can put them together, it's usually a good idea. Honestly, just sit down for 20 minutes at a target dummy and work it out. Go through this video a few different times, go through the rotation section a few times, and you will get it into your head. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is macros and add-ons. Now, these are extremely useful, and they're really one of the ways that you can increase the top end of your DPS. Of course, for these to really be effective, you should already know how to play the class very well. So the first two will do, the first macro I'm going to talk about will do 2 things. If you're not in combat, it will use your potion and then cast Dive and Dash. This will allow your pet to get into combat quickly. Now, if you're in combat, it will use Rapid Fire, Stampede, and Rabid. So pretty much, we have a pull timer in our raid so that everyone can pre-pop, just the usual sort of thing. So when the pull timer hits 1 second, we're about to pull, I hit this button, which will do my pre-pop, and it'll give my pet its speed increasing ability. Then as soon as we enter combat, I hit the button again, and it will do Rapid Fire, Stampede, and Rabid. It's a really nice way to streamline the opener. Now, the next macro I'm going to show up on the screen casts the Bestial Wrath and Kill command. This is really just the quality of life that means you have to hit less buttons. The next one is my tank and Misdirection Macros. Now, I have one for both my tanks. Our guild has got the same 2 tanks all the time, and since I use target last target, it pretty much means I can do a misdirection without any thought whatsoever, and I already have the buttons like down to muscle memory, so really it's kind of easy, and I couldn't be bothered fiddling around with focus targets. Also, it's good to have a cancel or a macro to remove deterrence, to remove its effect if it's no longer needed, because obviously you can't use any of your abilities during deterrence. Really, that's all that I personally feel I need to use. As for add-ons, I'll do a full video eventually, but basically, I use Bartender for my bars, JS's Hunter Bar for focus tracking, Shadowed Unit Frames for like raid frames and stuff, Omni CC to show me the cooldowns and stuff, and then Tell Me When. I have a few old mod videos on the channel which are still relevant, so I'd recommend checking them out. Now for the fun bit of the video, and when I say fun, I mean not fun at all. If you're, a basic hunter, then you're probably good, but if you want to hear every change, then I'll just go through them all now pretty quickly. So, general changes. The following abilities no longer cost focus to use: Dash, Dive, and Charge. Arcane Shot now does 125% ranged weapon damage, up from 100%, and its focus cost is increased by 50%. Counter Shot is a new baseline interrupt ability learned by all hunters at level 22. Deterrence is now a 3-minute cooldown, up from 2 minutes, but has 2 charges. Disengage now has a cooldown of 20 seconds, down from 25 seconds. Explosive Trap has had its overall damage decreased by 30%, proportionally more has been removed from the initial damage than the periodic effect. Readiness has been removed. Revive Pet no longer requires the hunter to have line of sight with the pet. And Stampede damage dealt is no longer reduced by 75% when in a PvE scenario. As for Beast Mastery specific ones, Stampede damage dealt by pets. Okay, never mind, I managed to list that Stampede change twice. Silly me. Kill Command damage is increased by 34%, that's the really nice one. As for talents, a Murder of Crows now deals 40% more damage. Iron Hawk reduces all damage taken by 10%, down from 15%. Glaive Toss no longer initiates auto attack. Lynx Rush damage has been increased by 30%. Silencing Shot is no longer a talent and is now an ability that replaces Counter Shot for marksmanship hunters. Spirit Bond now regenerates 3% of total health every 2 seconds, up from 2%, and Werven Sting has an increased range of 40 yards, up from 35. As for Glyphs, we have a new one called Lean Pack. It reduces the range of aspect of the pack by 7 yards. We also have the Glyph of Enduring Deceit. This makes your camouflage reduce spell damage taken by 10%. That's only going to last 1 hit, of course. Glyph of Men Pet now has a 100% chance to cleanse 1, cure disease, magic, or poison, which is up from a 50% chance. Glyph of Mending now speeds up periodic damage of Men Pet to restore health every 1 second, doubling the amount healed over 10 seconds. And finally, Glyph of No Escape increases the ranged crit against targets affected by a hunter's freezing trap by 100%, up from 20. Whew, wow. Well, that's all that done. We're coming in about 13 minutes. I think that's pretty good for the guide. Now, if you want to leave me any comments or questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. I'm jumping full on into the hunter, and really I'm going to put a lot of effort into this tier. Currently, the way things are in the current tier, I'm getting parses that are kind of like from 70 to 90% percentile. Not so many 90s, mainly about 70 to 80. Considering though that the only hunters that are rating at this stage are pretty good ones, it probably means that I'm quite good at hunters, so I'm really quite encouraged by that. I'm pretty happy of like how my performance is, so hopefully during Siege of Orgrimmar I'll be able to go full retard and bring you some pretty cool hunter videos. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you would consider subscribing, liking, etc., that'd be very awesome, because I'm a small channel and it helps out a lot. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.